Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Beloved, this is indeed your brother Big VJ checking in. Today's conversation, we're going to talk about the Jewish biblical text. We're going to talk about signs. We're going to talk about symbols. We're going to talk about allegory, right? But beloved, we're going to do it a different way. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to do it in the way of what they would call the right-hand path, which is the orthodox way that the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims may, the way they do it. We're going to do it in an esoteric way. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the left-hand path, and we're going to see if we can uncover the hidden meaning of Adam and Eve, and also the hidden meaning of Cain and Abel, right? But again, we're not going to do it like pork chop. But we're going to do it a little different. And I want to say shout out to our brother E. Ali, right, for putting this on the table. We also want to say shout out to our Hebrew Israelite brothers, our brothers and sisters in the nation, you know, everybody from the village, right? We just want to say shout out to everybody that listens. We appreciate all the comments. Beloved, we appreciate everything, right? You know, when you read the Jewish biblical text, right? The Torah, the scriptures, we always say that the root word of scriptures is a script. You understand? So a script is a script need actors. A script need players, performers. And we're going to talk about how something in allegory is actually playing out in real life. But you got to be able to see it. You understand what I'm saying? When you read these stories, though, you have to pay close attention to the names, because the names have their own meaning. And a lot of times when you connect the names together and then you read the story about the characters with their names intact, the meaning of the names intact, now it'll bring out a different kind of picture. You'll be like, oh, okay, now I see what the meaning of this story is about, that's connected to the allegory, that, beloved, is also connected to how things in life work. You understand? There's allegories that our people say, you understand, that they say in the village, and they would say something like, how many of us heard the allegory of the grass ain't greener on the other side? How many of us ever heard that allegory before? That proverb before? You understand? What does that mean when we hear that? Big Mama and them sitting in that chair, right? And she may be looking at a family member, or she may be looking at a friend, or she may be looking at an associate. And she sees activity. And Mama says in her wisdom, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. What does that mean when we hear that in the village? Generally, that's connected to relationships, right? It's a proverb about relationships. It has absolutely nothing to do with the real physical grass. The grass is just part of the sign and symbol and allegory that's connected to the proverb. It's not really about no grass. You understand what I'm saying? It's a deeper meaning to that. And that deeper meaning that's connected to relationships often is telling another story, right? What does Adam mean in Hebrew? What does Eve mean in Hebrew? What do their names mean? There's a lot of definitions, right? You know, Adam means red earth, or dyed red, or it got a lot of definitions for Adam. Adam means man and mankind and common sort, and Adam also means hypocrite, and Adam means ruddy. Ruddy means like it means red, like the blood shows through the skin. Now, today, beloved, we'll call that kind of man, those kind of humans, we'll call them white folks, because their skin is ruddy, they show through the blood. When you're an original man and woman, you're melanated, like your skin is like mahogany brown. You understand? It's like dark brown. Our blood doesn't show through the skin. But maybe that part is a different story for a different day, because I just really want to focus about the allegory. But I'm just saying, you look it up yourself in your Bible concordance, you see that Adam got a lot of definitions, common sort, hypocrite, etc. Yet, this is mankind. This is humankind. And this is the Genesis, which means the beginning. So, Adam is a story about the beginning of humankind, of mankind, and mankind's life. Because Eve, beloved, means life. The mother of all living, Eve, life, living, enlivening Eve. Right? All right. So we ain't going to go over the whole story. We're going to get a cliff notes of the story when we read about Adam and Eve. Dig what I'm saying? And it's going to kind of be just like when Big Mama say the grass is greener on the other side. The story it's not really about the story. The story is really about a deeper meaning. You understand? So, okay, the cliff notes is this. Adam and Eve live in paradise. They live in a garden, east of Eden. You understand? And their job is to dress it up. Name the animals. Well, Adam named the animals and everything, and they're going to dress it up. He needed some help. He got a woman on his team to help him out. And paradise. Not really working hard. Not a whole lot of sweat. Work naked. Not ashamed. It's all good. Until one day they came in contact with a trickster. Right? A snake. A Nikash. With intelligence. That told them something interesting. And it made them disobey their master. Their leader, their maker, right? Well, their master found out, their maker found out that they disobeyed his order, and they were put out of the garden, right? Take that. And when they were put out, there was some curses put in place, like, okay, now it's some thorns and thistles you're gonna have to deal with. You're gonna live by the sweat of your brow. You gotta work to eat. You understand? It's going to be harder work. And then he pointed his attention. We're talking about Adam and Eve's maker. He pointed his attention to his wife, like, all right, now, because you listen, to the serpent, now, and you was tricked. And I'm just paraphrasing. Like, now, your husband is going to rule over you. Right? Dig that. Then he tells her, hey, your childbirth is going to be greatly multiplied in pain. I'm saying, your pain will be greatly multiplied in childbirth. And then they were put out, and then there was a cherubim. There was like an angel that was put in a place that they couldn't come back to the former way of life, because there was more fruit that if they could have got access to, they could have lived forever. That's like the gist of the story, right? All right. But again, we're going to do this story like Mama did it, when Mama said, well, that grass ain't green on the other side. Was Mama really talking about grass? When she said the grass ain't green on the other side, is she really talking about grass, or she's talking about something else? So now my question to you, beloved, in the Adam and Eve story, is it really about trees, is eating and fruit, or knowledge and good and evil? Is it really about all that, or is it really about something else? Which one is it, right? Adam means what? dyed man, red man, common sort, hypocrite. Adam also means mankind and humankind, and Eve means living, and Genesis means the beginning. So we're going to talk about the beginning of mankind, the dyed man, and the life of their beginnings, right? What was Adam and Eve's first diet? What did they eat every day? They ate from trees, the fruit of the trees, right? Now let's just talk in reality. You know, trees bear fruit, and I'm talking about is excellent, beloved. I'm talking about cherries and apples and oranges and figs and pears and avocados and plums and peaches and lemons and bananas, and we can keep going on and on and on. There's a lot of fruit that grow from trees, right? So they're living off the forest essentially, and that's an easy life, because if you got assignments and duties to do, I mean, you always in the shade. You working in the trees. You probably like picking up the scraps, you know, the fruit that fell off. And then, you know, you probably got to throw the rotten fruit over here and over there. But dig, check this out. You know, a forest of fruit is self-sustaining. It's not a lot of work to do to keep that going. You understand? Because you're working in the shade already. But check it out, because I'm from Michigan. If you get like one apple tree and it grows, you know, the fruit has a way of, because we're going through seasons now, you know. The fruit has a way in its season to grow, fall off, but the fruit that fall around it, it'll multiply, it'll grow more trees around it. You ain't really like digging in the earth and got to plant an orange seed and apple seeds and plum seeds and peaches. You just got to get one tree up there, and that one tree will pretty much do the rest of the work. You have a forest before you know it. Now, just imagine your life. Living in the forest with fruit. You ain't really doing much work. You shaded. But check it out. You make a mistake. You disobey your master. You disobey your maker. So this is the Genesis. This is the beginning of your life. Your mankind, your people. And you were put out of the forest now. But he's giving you heads up. He's saying, yo, now since you're going to have to be put out of here, where you going is going to be sweat from your brow, thorns and thistles, and the earth going to curse you. Right? Now, let's just talk about that. What is Master, the maker of Adam, what is he saying to this group of people now? What is he really making them essentially? Beloved, he's making them farmers, is what he's making them. Farming, you're going to work by the sweat of your brow. There is no shade trees in farming. You got to dig the ground up. You got to put the seed in. You got to cover it up. You got to put water on it. You got to do everything. And then crops, more often than not, they tear up the ground. It's not like fruit forests now. You know, you have to keep doing this every season. Like, you got to really ground and pound to make it work. It's farming. Man, you out in the hot sun doing this. You understand? This is a different kind of way of life. It's not as easy as you walking and picking some cherries off the tree, or you grabbing an apple off the tree. And no, because the ground is cursed when you become a farmer. You're tearing up the ground. You're pulling. You understand what I'm saying? You have to repeatedly do this kind of deal. You got to plant the collard greens. You got to plant the tomatoes. You got to plant the corn. You got to plant it. You have to do it. It just doesn't. It's not like fruit trees. You see the maker of mankind, of Adam, showing them this is the new way of life for y'all. Now he's pointing to his wife. If we're working in the area, husband and wife, and we're just picking the fruit off the trees to eat, that man don't really need that woman, and that woman don't need that man. That ain't that hard to do. Y'all can argue and she can still feed herself. You see what I'm saying? No, not no more. In farming, he's stronger. So he gonna have dominion over you now, because this is a different kind of way of life. He running you now. You need him. He got the stronger back. We talking about the man. The man got the stronger back in farming. He can stay out in that heat longer than you can. You can't work like he can work. This is like Big Mama used to do. When she said that grass ain't green on the side, it's not really about you. Sometimes I feel like this. Let me say it this way. Our people get caught in the story. We get so wrapped up in the story because it's not really us. It's our teachers that we put over us. They're kind of giving it to us an orthodox kind of way. We call that like the right-hand path. Like it's just orthodox. It's just not. But it's a hidden meaning to this kind of information, right? Now let's look at the woman. Now, your sorrow is going to be greatly multiplied in childbirth. See, it don't take many children to be in that forest, to pick off get them peaches off that tree. You can have one child, 2 children, 3 children. You don't need a bunch of kids to do that. But see, you upset your maker. Now you got to go and deal with a different way of life. You're a farmer. Mama need to have 10 children now. Mama need to have 12 children. You know it. Black man and black woman, you know it better than anybody because our people came out of the field, out of the plantation. Our people come from a farmer's background. That's why mama and them had so many children, because they needed so many to go on that farm. Till that ground to make it work, to get it popping. Have you ever considered this is a story about transitioning from eating the fruit of the trees, and it's a transition to farming? You ever thought that could be the possible meaning behind the genesis or the beginning for this people group in mankind? Had you ever considered your mind that this could be something different? Right? Cain and Abel are children of Adam and Eve. Is that right? Cain and Abel are children of Adam and Eve. Is that right? Okay. In fact, let me say it this way. It is written that Adam and Eve had a bunch of children, but the 3 that are named to us is Adam, Cain, and Seth. Is that right?
Correction. Adam and Eve, 3 sons are Abel, Cain, and Seth. Now let's get back to the podcast.
All right, what does Abel mean? You can look up some definitions. Say Abel means a city, it means mourning, and Cain means possession or possessed. And then Seth, which is the baby boy, it means it means fixed, like a situation that is permanently set. This comes after, right? Seth comes after Cain and Abel. Is that right? All right. Let's take a look at the story, right? And let's see if this part of the story is kind of like what Big Mama's saying. The grass is green on the other side. Cain, in the story, he kills his brother Abel. And then he runs. You know what I'm saying? He runs and he builds a city in the city of Nod. You understand? All right. Later, Adam and Eve have another son that is named called Seth. Now, what is Cain? Because Cain means possessed or possession. But what is Cain? Cain tilled the ground. He was a farmer. He represents agriculture. So what does Abel represent? Abel deal with the cattle. So he's a representation of a herdsman. Now let's talk about that right now off top. Cain killed Abel, right? Could that possibly be, I don't know, help me out. Could that possibly be a metaphor or an allegory that the farmers will always rule the herdsmen? Because check it out. When Cain killed Abel, he ran and he built a city. Now, you and I know, beloved, that farming is the original foundation that made cities possible. Because farming, this is how you provide a surplus of food. And it makes, like, when you start talking about cities, permanent populations, they have to develop from the farm. This is why Cain is connected to the city. It means possession. Like, the ruler is always going to be Cain. Cain will always rule Abel, and it is set this way. It's permanently set. This is what Seth means. It's going to be set this way, no matter where you go in the world. This is the look. Listen, check it out. Farming today, it's the engine for cities. This is how you provide economic benefits. This is how you create jobs. You know what I'm saying? This is how you promote environmental stability through farming, right? It's a beef. It's always going to be beef, no pun intended. There's always going to be beef between farmers and, like, pastors, herdsmen, people that push cattle, because they're going to have a issue over the land. But it's permanently going to be set this way because cities are built off the agriculture, off the farming. Now, there's things that herdsmen produce that's necessary, yet at the end of the day, it's going to be a struggle over the land. See, a farmer, Cain that's his occupation. He's going to have to cultivate the crops. They're going to have to be on a fixed piece of land, stationary, one spot, one territory, one land. That's a city. He can't move around a lot like a herdsman. Herdsman kind of like, they can just move around a little bit. But the farmer, though, check it out. They got to remain in one location at one time. They got to manage their field and their crops. You understand? Agricultural work is a major sector of most economies. It's the farming, right? Okay. On the other hand, Abel, which is a herdsman, right? They kind of like, it's like they have to rear and manage livestock. They got to rear and manage like cattle and sheep and goats. So their use of land is like, they don't need that permanent city. They're nomadic or semi-nomadic. They're moving around to find fresh grazing land for their animals. But when it comes to Cain and Abel, the farmer gonna always dominate and kill the herdsman, because the herdsmen, they only have low cash reserves. They're not powerful like that. They're gonna often rely on loans. They gotta, pledge livestock, and they're just not that way. You see what I'm saying? If you go back to Africa, check it out. You can see it in real time. Like, you go to Africa, you see this particular tribe, and they got a bunch of cattle and goats with them, and they're moving around. And okay, that's them. They get next to another community that's a stationary. It's a city. It's built, but that's built off agriculture. The agricultural city, Cain will always dominate and kill Abel. Abel is not. That's the way of life. That's the way that it is Seth. It is set that way. That's the allegory. We see that today, beloved. We see that in real time. We watching, millionaires and billionaires. They got so many things to invest their money in. They're investing in farming. You understand? The farmers, they're investing in Cain. Cain gonna always dominate Abel. That's the story. That's the allegory. But you come out of that, you come in real life. Like, that's for real. The herdsmen, they provide food, meat, some skins, just some things that they can make out these animals. But now they try to get stationary. It's a battle over the land. Because these herds, these animals, they're going to need water. Okay, well, this farm going to need water too. We ain't going to fight over this lake. If we do fight, you're going to leave because we're stationary. You're going to have to move around. You're going to have to get somewhere. These are allegories to point to life. And they put it in story form. Sign, symbol, allegory. But we're never taught to look at things this way. And I often say this, beloved, the Negro is so caught up in the story. The spirit of the thing is, the spirit of the topic is, we're talking about the spirit of Yahweh, and Yahweh have stories to point to him. So now you have the discussion about the genesis of mankind in life. Not any old mankind. They've been specific about what mankind that they're talking about when you look in the concordance, but that's a different story for a different day. Then you come in reality, be like, okay, I see it. Bill Gates is buying farmland. Monsanto's is dominating agriculture. They're trying to dominate farmland. They're getting so deep into this, they're making like, they're trying to make a patent. They're trying to put special seeds where you have to have a patent to get the seeds. So you can't remake the seeds because the seeds are on the patent, but everything is pointing back to agriculture, not the herdsman, because the agricultural guy, the farmer, is always going to dominate. It's always going to dominate the herdsman. So look at the transition of this particular group of mankind. They started off eating the fruit from the trees, kick back, lay back in the shade. It's easy peasy. Now, their disobedience is pushing them to a harder way of life. And that harder way of life is them connecting to farming. And then once you have farming, you have those that with the farm, you got those that's with the animals, and you're going to see there's going to be a constant struggle between the two. But based on this allegory, the farmer is always going to win that battle because Cain is going to kill Abel. And then after that, you see the third son, which is Seth, which means this is the way that's going to be permanently set. And beloved, we'll leave it there. Peace and black power to you, family. Yeah, man. We thank you so much for living. Special shout out to our brother E. Ali. Special shout out to the Hebrew Israelite family, to the nation, to everybody that rock with the podcast. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, this is Real Black Content Forum Podcast, your brother V. And if you guys like this kind of information this way, we can do this a lot. We can go through the names, go through the story, because it's just like Moses. This guy is all the same. Moses' name means drawn out. Moses is connected to Aaron. Aaron means teacher, like a lofty teacher that's high, mountain in strength. And then that's connected to Joshua, which means a savior, deliverer. So you look at the story and you put the name on it, and then you see how does that connect to you in real time. Again, don't get caught up. It's Big Mama say the grass is green on the other side. Don't really look at the grass. She's not talking about the grass. When these people are giving stories, stop getting it. You're getting roped up in the characters. They're not being roped up in the characters. They're trying to tell you and I a hidden meaning. Peace and black power. Until next time, Real Black Content Forum. Peace, beloved, and more peace.
Thanks for listening. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Google, Anchor, Spotify, and Facebook. Also, don't forget to like, share, and comment on the podcast. Your opinion of what you just heard is important to the platform. So yes, beloved, your comments are the engine and fuel to the machine. Stay blessed and have a powerful day.